The latest Fox News poll on the 2016 race came out just a few hours ago, and we are seeing some of the effects of the past couple of weeks on the campaign trail. Also, some big news for Marco Rubio, who now beats Hillary Clinton by a wide margin in the hypothetical head-to-head. Kristen Fisher spent the morning studying the numbers, joins us now. So who are the winners, who are the losers, Kristen?
Well, Leland, the big winners are Marco Rubio, Ted Cruz, and Donald Trump. And the big loser would have to be Dr. Ben Carson. He's still in second place, but he's dropped 5 points in 3 weeks, by far the most of any candidate, while Trump is up 2 points. He's back on top with that big 10-point lead, 28-18. Cruz and Rubio are tied for third. But here's where it really gets good for Rubio. In a hypothetical matchup with Hillary Clinton, he comes out on top 50-42. This is the first time a poll has ever shown Rubio beating Clinton. He talked about it on Fox News Sunday, where he seemed to downplay its long-term significance. Listen.
On these polls, obviously, you want good news, not bad news, but we've never gotten too excited or too depressed about them. They're going to fluctuate between now and Election Day, especially in early states where voters wait until the last week, the last day oftentimes, to make their decision.
And just in case you needed a reminder of why Republicans want a candidate who can beat Hillary Clinton, look at this. The new Fox News poll continues to give Clinton a commanding 23-point lead over Bernie Sanders, 55-32, while Martin O'Malley clocks in at just 3%, which is likely one reason why O'Malley has been hitting his Democratic rivals so hard over the last few days. Today, on one of the other Sunday shows, he used some very strong words to describe Clinton's latest speech on foreign policy.
It was an everything but the kitchen sink. And it was also peppered with all of the same old thinking, old State Department thinking when it comes to this. Look, we need a foreign policy that not only talks about a greater human intelligence, but actually delivers it.
And just one more bit of bad news for Dr. Ben Carson. It has to do with his honest and trustworthy rating. It's dropped 7 points in 3 weeks. It's still better than most of his rivals, but all those questions into his past seem to really be taking a toll with voters. Leland?
Kristen Fisher, thanks so much. Here to dig a little bit deeper into the numbers and perhaps have a little bit of a debate, Brian Hook served as an advisor on the 2012 Romney presidential campaign, and Craig Varoga, president and founder of Patriots Majority. Start with that poll that Kristen Fisher was just talking about. Ben Carson, honest and trustworthy numbers versus the beginning of November, down 7 points. You then look at how that translates into the overall numbers. He's down 5 points. Some of that shifting to Cruz and Rubio as they've gone up. Trump's also gone up by 2 points overall. Is this cause and effect, or is this a coincidence when it comes to Carson's trustworthy numbers going down, his overall numbers going down?
Some of the numbers coming down may be a function of the Paris attacks, and Carson displays a much different kind of persona. And so you saw a bump for Donald Trump because I think he conveys a kind of strength and determination that people are looking for against a weak and timid president. The same is true for Marco Rubio and some of the others who got a bump from this poll.
Craig, as you're looking at these numbers, where do you see the balance between whether people are looking for a foreign policy president or a domestic economic president, and who does that favor?
Look, I mean, I think that poll indicates that it's a lot about substance, it's a lot about style and technique in the way of talking rather than maybe about issues. You know, I think it's Trump versus everybody else. You know, the trajectory for Carson is bad, you know, whether it's about the bio or whether it's about national security.
Brian, you agree that Carson's heading down?
Well, for now, I just think that this is a climate that is going to advantage people who've been serious about national security. That's really
how does that work? Take that to sort of a larger zoom out from the Republican race now to the Democratic race, where, as Christian pointed out, Hillary Clinton commanding lead overall. Does that now favor her in terms of a foreign policy background as Secretary of State, or is that going to be tougher for her?
She has the credential of Secretary of State, but she doesn't have a great record as Secretary of State. And so I expect that Marco Rubio, part of the reason I think he's had a little bit of a bump is because he has delivered over 10 major foreign policy addresses over a number of years. I remember one conversation with him 4 or 5 years ago where he said foreign policy doesn't matter until it matters. Right now it matters.
Matters a lot.
Yeah, and he's going to be taking advantage of it.
All right, so we look at the poll now, the head-to-head matchup of, hypothetically, any generic Republican versus Hillary Clinton. Marco Rubio leads by 8 points. Craig, how does Hillary Clinton come back from that when, as we see, as foreign policy takes a big center stage point focus, that her numbers against a Republican aren't so great.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't looked at the crosstabs in your poll, but I do think that she's very strong on that issue. She does have the credentials. She does have the experience. I think that, I mean, if you earlier talked about the Louisiana race, a year ago no one would have thought that David Vitter would have lost. Right now I think it's way too early to predict what's going to happen in November of 2016 other than it being close.
Marco Rubio said, polls go up and down. We don't really spend too much time looking at them. It's a lot nicer, though, when your poll numbers are going up when they're going down.
Yeah, definitely. And, I think right now you've seen a bump with a number of people who have a kind of competency, some poise, presidential temperament, experience in government. To date in the Republican primary, I would say government experience and temperament have been a liability, as 3 governors have already dropped out will tell you. And after the Paris attacks, it's possible that we're going to see experience and temperament return as an asset. And I think you're going to see voters applying a commander-in-chief test probably more frequently than they did before the Paris attacks.
Could I add something to that? I think that Rubio's numbers in this poll are not predictive of what's going to happen in November, but they will help him in the Republican primaries.
Well, he certainly looks stronger in terms of how things go forward. And to your point, people are asking now, who do they want to have nuclear codes? Who do they want to have get the 3 a.m. phone call? Brian, Craig, appreciate your guys' insights. Thank you.
Okay.